Check, check, check. Yup. Yup. Yes, sir. We got another one. Welcome back to another episode of the All Things Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Julian, joined by Rios tonight. Once again, I appreciate you stopping in, taking the time to
of course,
chop it
man.
up with me. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Welcome. I'm glad to be back on the show, man. You know what I'm saying? It's here. It's finally here.
You can smell the grass.
Smell the grass. Teams are in pads now. It's teams are in pads, so it's pad week for the NFL. So this is where a lot of rosters are being shaped up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of questions will be answered from the offseason. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this upcoming NFL and college football season, guys.
Yes. We're going to dive deeper into that college football. Week 0, I think, is like less than 2 weeks away.
Less than 2 weeks away, bro.
10 days out of week 0. So our next episode will definitely be more dedicated to getting college football season and getting ready for that. Just answering questions, like you said, I want to jump right into this. We got a bunch to talk about. We're going to get into the Eagles' new offense with their new OC, Raiders quarterback one situation, some injury updates, some listeners' questions. I want to talk about the disrespect, as some see it, for Patrick Mahomes' ranking on the NFL Top 100 list. I didn't want to get into Lamar Jackson because 68 is just something to talk about. But Patrick Mahomes obviously coming back off that ACL is something we're going to get into. So I have one question for you just before we get into the episode. Break the ice, Rios. What is one storyline that's standing out to you right now, I guess, going into this NFL season?
I'm really looking at that Browns quarterback situation, man. I really think that's like the most compelling story right now of training camp. Who's going to win that Browns quarterback battle? You have two polarizing figures in the opposite way. You know what I mean? You have Deshaun Watson, who got paid a bunch of money, and his legal situations and so on and so forth. You have your opinions on that, and then you have this young up and coming star, with the last name, with the powerful last name. You know what I mean? The Sanders family. You have Shadur. So it's like you have that coming in. You have a new coach, a new OC coming in. So in that situation, so it's interesting to see, how that's going to play out. I think that's the most compelling story right now. And when it comes to that, for me personally, I just feel like, granted, we already know that I think Deshaun's going to get the job just because management has to save their face. And they're paying him $50 million. So I think he's going to get the start, but I think it's going to be for maybe a 5 or 6 game sample.
Yeah,
after that, it's going to just be, maybe, depending on how the record goes, they'll rock with one and they'll, stick with the other. But like I said, if Shadur sits, it's not that big of a deal in my opinion, because he gets to learn another year. He gets to learn. He gets to the year. He gets to learn, and also too, after next year, you can restructure Deshaun Watson's contract and make him either take less or trade him, and they can give him less, and a team can give him less money, and then you can start Shadur next season with a brand new slate, and then you can get some of that dead cap money, and then you guys can, and then the Browns can recoup and get the pieces right for Shadur. The next upcoming season. So that's also a possibility too. So the Browns, I'm not going to say they're in a win-win situation. Like I said, the Browns, they want to make the playoffs this year. They want to have some sort of success this season. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But like I said, we got that 6 game sample is very important.
Yeah, I just think. With Deshaun's actually on an expiring deal this year, and for him to have the opportunity to play and them even be compelled to re-signing him would be crazy to me. So
ridiculous. Absolutely.
A few weeks ago, and I think that the more as preseason goes on and training camp evolves, the right thing to do has been to start Shedeur Sanders, but I think it's also more likely seeing how, both of them played, just 1 week in the preseason. But if you're the Browns, you have to know what you have going into the future. You have a new head coach over there, and I don't think he needs or wants, I should say, to waste any time when trying to figure out his quarterback one situation. So that's going to be something to monitor. That is a great storyline going into the season, if not the biggest, because Shedeur Sanders, like you said, his name is Sanders. It rings bells regardless if he's doing good or bad or playing or not. And then obviously a guy like Deshaun Watson is just an interesting piece right now who is coming off of 2 Achilles and, started his career off great and had like one of the biggest downfalls. But Rios, I want to talk about a more interesting offense, a better team, a Super Bowl contender. Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts, Coach Nick Sirianni, and their new offensive coordinator. Once again, another new coach for Jalen Hurts to adjust to, another new offense for Jalen Hurts to adjust to. By the way, shout out to Pika Booth. What's up? What's up? Appreciate you joining, tapping in with us. And I want to hear your thoughts if you're watching on this Philadelphia offense. They're going to be running more of a West Coast style offense this year with, Coach Sean Mannion coming over from Green Bay and his first time calling plays. So like we're having, let me just set the scene here for those that maybe are new to this or want to hear it in broken English. Like Philadelphia has had plenty coaches since Jalen Hurts' arrival, right? And it went from him not starting to learning new offenses since he's come out of college, right? Since Alabama to Oklahoma to Philadelphia. He's a shotgun quarterback for the most part, right? Not so much a traditionally under center quarterback, but he's going to have the opportunity to showcase that he can be a more efficient passer and more of a play action passer. So I want to ask you, with this new West Coast offensive scheme, more play action, more under center, more outside zone runs for Saquon Barkley, and a healthy offensive line, hopefully going into this year, which they didn't have last year. Do you think this is a good or bad thing for Jalen Hurts and his success going forward for the Philadelphia Eagles offense?
I mean, I just want to bring up the fact that he's had 6 coordinators, and I believe he's been in the league how long now? I believe 7 years now in the league, right?
2020 was his class, or
right, 2020. So yeah, he's been in the league 6 years. So he's had a new coordinator every single year. Yeah. He's won 2 Super Bowls. So that's a credit to his talent and what he's been able to accomplish on the football field, regardless of learning a new system year in and year out. Now, I will say this, though. Do I think Jalen Hurts
went to 2 Super Bowls?
Right, went to Super Bowls, right? Won one, right? So, like I said, do I think he's the quarterback equipped to run the West Coast offense? I'm not really sure, because the West Coast offense is a lot of short, intermediate stuff. Now, do I think I think he's improved as a thrower of the football these last 6 years? Absolutely. Now, do I think the personnel around him to run the West Coast offense is suitable for what is suitable right now at this juncture? I'm not sure. Like last year, the line was out. You had Lane Johnson out. You know what I mean? So like that was a big hurt that was a big, minus for Jalen Hurts. So to me, the key for the Eagles is the offensive line. If the offensive line stays healthy, and there's no hiccups or no injuries throughout the season, then they should be fine, regardless of them, losing A.J. Brown. So my biggest concern for the Eagles right now is the offensive line. I'm not going to necessarily say it's Jalen Hurts, but to me, it's just the stability of that offensive line right now as so far right now. Because last year they were banged up, so it's kind of like it's a give or take with that offense.
Now, but we've seen that offensive line stay healthy, right? And what they are when they are healthy. So
and we know they can do when they're healthy.
I would like to say last year was the asterisk for that O-line in their play.
Right.
I think it's safe to assume. I would just say I think it's safe to assume that they're gonna be great again, top 5.
But I do think every team in the NFC East has improved themselves, especially on the defensive side of the ball too. So, like I said, it's that the NFC East has gotten better. I think. Um, now the interesting thing to me is now for the Eagles now the loss of AJ Brown. Now you
Yep.
have a rookie wide receiver stepping in, and you
Yep.
also have Devontae Smith. Now Devontae Smith has had some injury issues coming into his career as well. You know what I mean? So him taking on that full wide receiver one workload, is something that we should really look out for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key. So also too, they have Lemon. So to me, if Lemon's the X factor in all of this, if Lemon can at least put the same output that Smitty had his rookie season, then the Eagles reach. To me, the Eagles are going to win. To me, the Eagles are in that Super Bowl contention. As of now, do I think they're in that contention to where do I see them fighting against do I think they're better than Los Angeles right now? Absolutely not. Do I think they're better than maybe Dallas right now at this current juncture? No. Wow. I don't think they're better than Dallas.
Think that's a hot take, bro. I mean,
I don't think so. But like I said, it's just a matter of the line staying healthy. And like I said, it's just a matter of I really believe that if Jalen Hurts can improve as a thrower of the football, like I said, improve as a thrower of the football, make steady improvement, right? Mm-hmm. Then I think this offense really will take a leap from what it did last season, which their offense was very stagnant last season. Yeah. Although AJ Brown had his yards and Smitty had his yards, right? They still were stagnant on offense. They still weren't that same explosive offense that we're used to seeing the Eagles be. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to play this season out. But like I said, if the line stays healthy, sky's the limit for the Eagles, man.
So, one more thing on this before we get into a couple comments. We've seen a couple comments here, and this is Yusuf. What's good, Yusuf? He's talking about he threw 3 picks in the joint practice season's over. This is also a Giants fan talking, and obviously,
I feel him on that, bro. I feel him on that.
Clarified that for us. I know you was trolling, fam. But what I wanted to say, Ree, is you mentioned a great point, and AJ Brown going to the Patriots and them losing him. Essentially, it's a loss. They cut their loss with him, and there was drama, and he was being what he was last season. Obviously, Kevin Patullo calling a very basic and vanilla offense didn't help the cause. So what I think can come out from this year, Jalen Hurts can have his most efficient season in his career so far as a more mature quarterback and a more confident quarterback with a coach and an offensive line built for his success, or a scheme, I should say, built for his success. He is going to miss out on having that 6'1", 6'2", 220-pound receiver being able to go over the middle, and catch the ball fearlessly, which we haven't necessarily seen Devontae Smith do throughout his career at 180 pounds. And Mekhi Lemon, we saw what he was able to do in college versus a younger guys. It'll be interesting to see who's going to step up in that role to be able to go across the middle, because a lot of this offense will be predicated on throws over the middle and, like you said, the dink and dunk short stuff. So Jalen Hurts, he's going to have to make great decisions. He's going to have to be fearless with the ball in the sense of putting it in between the numbers, not just outside, and not just having that AJ Brown kind of big body to secure these one-on-one matchups. But I do think that we may see the best of Jalen Hurts so far if he steps into this role and owns it. And obviously the O-line comes back healthy, protects, and then he can be complemented with Saquon Barkley coming back for at least a 16 to 1,800 yard season. That would really help the quarterback with his confidence, and obviously with play action attacking. This can really go far. But it's going to have to be night and day from last year if he wants to see a big success or to your point, compete with the Rams or a team like Seattle, right? So real quick, right. I did want to get into Raymond's comment. Shout out to Raymond. He said Hurts is the most polarizing player in the league, but yet he's not the face of the league. And this is a good point. Patrick Mahomes, first and foremost, has taken the league by storm, and fair. What he's done in his short career so far, first half of his career, has been nothing short of greatest of all time status, competing with Brady. He's not competing or in the league with the quarterbacks that are currently playing right now. He's up there with the greats. So, like, it's going to be hard to compete as far as face of the league with a guy like that. But we do talk about Jalen Hurts, and in a negative manner, the media brings Jalen Hurts' subject up. And all he's done is win, right, in Philadelphia. He's taken them to
listen,
he's and beat Mahomes.
Right. And I'll say this too about Jalen Hurts. So I'll say here's why people don't like him and like why he gets a lot of criticism. I just feel as if people think that the Eagles are just too good of a football team on both sides of the football. Yeah. So it's like the defense is like, they've been a perennial top 10 defense for the past 6 years. And you've had a top 6 perennial offense for the past couple of years. And they've had success with other quarterbacks as well. So people also make that argument that, it's just been Howie Roseman and just his dealings as what he's been able to do in the front office. So to me, it's more so they give Howie Roseman the credit. But even in Alabama too, like it's the criticism from Jalen Hurts has been going on since Alabama, and
Absolutely.
Since the whole Tua situation. So I feel like it's been starting since then. And like I said, the Eagles are like a Ferrari, man. And it's pretty much like Jalen Hurts is kind of like the valet of a Ferrari. You know what I mean? You're just moving it down the block, or you're moving it to a parking spot. Whereas if Mahomes and the Josh Allens and the Lamar Jacksons, right? We see what they do on a football field. Even in Caleb Williams, for example, right? We see what they do, week in, week out, you know what I mean? Like leading teams to victories. We really haven't seen that from Jalen Hurts. In my argument, like I said,
it's a fair argument, Reed. But at the same time, for my argument, as a winning quarterback is what we have to address him as, because like Patrick Mahomes and unlike Josh Allen and unlike Caleb Williams, to his defense, he's only been in the league twice, 2 years, and unlike Lamar Jackson. And unlike Joe Burrow, he has won. He has the ring. He can say, I was the champion this season. And whether you want to say Howie Roseman gets credit for that, building a defensive, front like that, building an O-line, bringing in guys, Jalen Hurts has done what he has been asked to do.
Right. And like I said, it's the same argument that we had with Brady in the early 2000s. Is it him or is it the system?
And in hindsight, we crowned him the greatest of all time.
Right. But to me, Brady really wasn't like I said, Brady had to have that 08 season for people to really fully realize.
And guess what?
Shit.
Randy Moss,
he's the boy. He's that boy.
Randy Moss had to join the Patriots. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like for him
But listen, Randy Moss came into the league with 1,600 out the gate. So like I said, it's a different mentality with that too. Like Hurts hasn't thrown over 4,000 yards yet.
Yeah, but he also never had Randy Moss on his team, right. So he hasn't had the opportunity to have that 2008 season. And also, Brady came in the league in 2001, I think was his first year, to 2008. Right. That's 7 seasons. We're kind of at that same point. Like I'm not comparing. We're not doing that. Trajectories, but you bring up a good point where Tom Brady had Bill Belichick, had the defense, had guys around him for his success, and then finally you bring in what we consider one of the greatest players of all time, if not a top 2 wide receiver of all time, in Randy Moss, and he has this spectacular MVP season because, you need help in this game. And so I'm excited. I'll say this. I'm excited to see what Jalen Hurts can do with this new offense.
Right. I am too. I'm also excited to see Mekhi Lemon, man. So I just feel as if – right, exactly. And Ray makes a great point. With that caliber of a team, the Eagles expect them to win one or more championships.
And yes. But to his defense, I'm gonna stand on Jalen Hurts' side here and say they've gone to 2. They lost to Mahomes. They beat Mahomes, and now they have an opportunity to show and present themselves again under a new scheme, which your quarterback has had to learn. Look at Patrick Mahomes. He's been, in maybe two or three different schemes, but it's been pretty much very similar going throughout his career. And so we have to cut a little bit of slack. It's a quarterback, right? And it's a quarterback's league, so we can't just baby Hurts, and I'm not going to do that. When he plays bad, he plays bad. And if it's very vanilla like last year's offense, we got to call it what it is. We didn't praise him last year. He didn't deserve praise. But when he does do good and when he does contribute to winning, you got to give that credit as well. So shout out to Yusuf there. Let's move on. I wanted to talk about the Raiders and their quarterback one situation. As I said, it's a quarterback's league. And I kind of know the answer to the question here, or what I think is the right answer, and I want to hear it from the chat. I want to hear it from you. Should Fernando Mendoza should Raiders front office even entertain Fernando Mendoza being their day one starter?
Did you say I played in the preseason?
I did.
What'd you think?
It was the Carson Beck, Miami versus Indiana.
Right.
Indiana Mendoza.
But I feel as if he took command of the offense. And like I said, you have to start Kirk just because of the money. Just because of the money aspect. So, but Mendoza, his ability to take control of the offense with the ones, right? To me, that showed a lot. So to me, that shows that, all right, they know that he's the guy moving forward, but there's some kinks that he needs to work on and needs to iron out too. Like I said, there was some throws where I'm like, okay, all right, well, if he's playing against the ones, right, this would not go this way.
Yeah, it doesn't go that way.
It's not going to go that way. So I just think, he needs more rep time. He needs to see the game, and I feel as if, he'll be fine. He had to do the same thing, his freshman year. So I feel as if, him being able to sit, and like I said, Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback to learn from.
Sure.
He's won, took a team to the playoffs. He's been a perennial Pro Bowler. And also, too, right, you have to see how the Raiders' O-line holds up, too, because they've been suspect the past couple of seasons. So, you just really have to see how the 6-game sample is. And let's say the Raiders are 4-2. Let's say the Raiders are 4-2, because they have a schedule to where they can open up 4-2. It's possible. It's extremely possible. So, if they open up 4-2, what happens then? So that's the thing. So, like I said, the Raiders, you have Brock Bowers, you have Trey Thompson, you have those kind of receivers, and you have Beck coming. So it's like you kind of have to see how the playmakers mesh as well. But also, like I said, Mendoza is still a learning process with him. But I was impressed with his ability to take command of the offense with the first teamers right away, though. Which a lot of rookie quarterbacks in the preseason, you see them struggle with them just taking command of the offense and like them making reads, them calling out audibles. He had no problem with that. So that's good. So that was the only plus that I saw from him.
So here, I want to see if you guys see this here. You make a good point. They have a fair schedule. I mean, Miami,
it's fair.
And New Orleans, to me, are really the two teams. They're not going to go 4-2, by the way. But
they're not. I'll give, but I always give divisional games a 50-50 chance. I always give divisional games.
I'm not going to go 50-50. I'll go 60-40, but and when it's Kansas City, probably 70-30. But hear me out. I think you sit them. I agree. There is a benefit for playing him right away. He gets to just jump in the fire. He gets to showcase his skill, and learning from your rookie season, you're only getting more repetition. I think repetition is the way to learn. However, you guys also bring up a good point with the O-line. We don't know what that looks like this year, and you never want to put him in harm's way if that's going to be the case. So you paid Kirk the money. You get a lot of good reps by sitting in the quarterback room with a guy who's like, consummate professional and, a new head coach with an offensive mind, and Clint Kubiak. I don't know if you guys are watching Hard Knocks or not, but episode 3 last night, it was a good scene where Coach Jason Garrett, or former Coach Jason Garrett, was talking to the quarterback room and just saying how, he never got an opportunity to start and get the reps of a starter But as a 2, he would take all the opportunities he could to just call plays in his car on the ride home, dive into playbook and get those mental reps. And he said the mental reps really, really helped. And then right behind him was Super Bowl winning quarterback Sam Darnold, quarterback 1 for the Seattle Seahawks, talking to the young guys, Drew Lock and Jalen Milroe, and saying, yeah, I realized that when I got to San Francisco and I was a 2 behind Purdy. And his career is a great story in itself, right? You can look at Kirk Cousins as well. He's been a 2. But you can look at a guy like Sam Darnold in his testimony where we never thought he was going to be the quarterback 1 of the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl winning team in 2025. However, his persistence, his grind, and his experience, I think, is what took him to where he is now. As a number 2 overall pick. This is not somebody who is a 4th round pick.
Who was extremely highly touted coming out of college, man.
So I think there's a lot of similarities here with Fernando Mendoza, because at the same time, for me personally, I don't see Fernando Mendoza like just becoming a star overnight and I think he has a great command. I think he has a great voice, leadership qualities, and he's a guy who's going to be in the playbook. You don't worry about him off the field, right? It's just from a talent level perspective, can he put it all together for a consistent 17-week schedule throughout his career and become somebody like a Sam Darnold or even better? Because I didn't think Sam Darnold was going to be a Super Bowl winning starting quarterback when he came out of USC, and I didn't think he was number 2 overall worthy. And no disrespect, but he didn't overwhelm me or wow me at USC to that extent. And sometimes you got to reach when you have the opportunity to get a guy that high or when you need a quarterback. And clearly, New York wasn't the right system, wasn't the right organization for him, because their development process is just, it's another story. But it's interesting to see that. I believe that was 2018. Was that Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold right there?
I believe he was 2017. Let me check.
2017.
I believe it was 2017. Okay. But like you said, exactly like you said too, right? Now I think that we live in this because we're now, like I said, quarterbacks now where we're in this win now mode with these rookie quarterbacks now, right? Like I said, like the Ben Roethlisbergers, the Dak Prescotts, right? Like those things those are outliers, man. The Brock Purdy's, those are outliers, And I feel as if though, like, we're getting away from good quarterback development,
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas if sitting your first round quarterback 2-3 years was the norm back then. Now that's not. And like I said, that's just a testament to coaching, even in the college ranks. Everything is off the shotgun, and them having to learn plays under center, them having to learn plays, taking snaps under center. It's a whole different it's a whole different learning process and a whole different developmental process. But also too is if quarterbacks are willing to, take in that learning process, take in that developmental process. Even if you look at a guy like Bryce Young, for example, right? Bryce Young he's been in the league, 3-4 years now, right? And he's made steadily improvements year after year after year, even while he's been benched a couple times throughout. That's what you got to do. Then that's what has to happen. So it's like, if that has to happen to Mendoza, then it has to happen to Mendoza. But do I think you got to throw him out there in the fire right away? No, you don't. Yeah. But because the same thing with Darnold. Remember Darnold's first game, threw for 5 touchdowns first game as a Jet. And look what happened. And look where he's at now. So like I said, there's going to be ebbs and flows with quarterbacks, man, especially with young rookie quarterbacks, man. So I feel as if our team's willing to go through that because we're such in a win-now situation. GMs are such in a win-now mode situation, because your teams are winning with these quarterbacks, that are low-round picks. Like I said, Dak Prescott, he was a fifth-round pick. Brock Purdy was a 7th-round pick, and they went out the gate with him, out the bat. So it's like you have, these these outliers, but also too, like I said, it's coaching and development, like you and I said. Do I think the Raiders have good quarterback development? I mean, listen, we don't know, but you have Kirk Cousins and you also have Tom Brady. Those are two good people to learn from. So if I'm Mendoza, I'm trying to pick their brains as much as I can.
Yeah.
And shout out Brady too for even saying, that he's not going to start right away.
Out loud. Correct.
I out loud off the rip, and I appreciate that for Brady, and I appreciate Tom Brady doing that because that alleviates the pressure off him from the media, and that just allows him to just be able to lock in and just learn the offense and just be able to learn the game, learn the NFL game. So salute to the Raiders for doing that too. That's what you call quarterback competency. So yeah. Good for him. Good for him.
Shout out to them having veterans that are going to be willing to take the time to help develop him. Clint's a good play caller, so I wonder how he's going to do with the weaker wide receiver room. They still got Genty and Bowers. And, I mean, look, this is the Raiders are a work in progress. If they do bad this year, it's okay. They have first-round draft pick, right? Now they go and get that 5-star guy, Jeremiah Smith, right? Could you imagine what Fernando Mendoza could do with Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, and a guy like Jeremiah Smith in the draft or so? So, and then you do have to respect the guys that are in the locker room right now who are going to be there for the next couple years, like a Trey Tucker, like a Deontay Thornton, and even maybe a John Beck. Like, we don't know what that's going to be. So I do want to see that develop, and I'm interested to see how that's going to go in Oakland. But shout out to his veterans that he's going to be learning from. But, Reese, speaking of veterans, Von Miller signed with the Cowboys. Keenan Allen signed with the Colts. I'm kind of excited for that one. So I want to talk to you.
Yeah, that's a good pickup, man.
About these OGs joining these new squads and talk to you about their impact. We'll start with Von Miller. Like, how much do you think he has left in the tank? And do you think he needs to be a 9-10 sack guy for this to work out in Dallas?
I mean, I don't think. I mean, the thing is, I mean, salute to Von Miller for wanting to come home and play. He had 9 sacks last year. People forget this too, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's still productive, man. Like I said, the future Hall of Famer, first ballot off the rip. You know what I mean? I will say though, like, the Cowboys are gonna. I feel like the Cowboys, they have so much depth at the D line now. And a lot of the injuries happened at the D-line position from last year. So I do think signing him adds depth. And like I said, to me personally, he's one of the greatest third down pass rushers of all time. So if you could utilize him on those key situational downs, then that's key for the Cowboys. Because Cowboys on third down defense, they were fucking terrible. Let's just call it what it is. They were fucking terrible at that situation. So you sign a guy like that, who to me is, I'd probably say, the best next to in terms of sack artists, I'd probably say next to at third down, I'd probably say Julius Peppers at that key situational third down position. They're the two best of all time. So you have one of those guys at that position. Like I said too, the veteran leadership. Him being able to teach the young guys, him being able to teach a Quinnen Williams, you know what I mean? So him being able to teach the rookies, you know what I mean? You got that defense, you got Caleb Downs there. So like I said, the Cowboys, man, like, and Jerry Jones said he wants to add a corner too, by the way, too. Say he wants to add another corner, by the way, too. So a veteran corner too. And we know Jerry Jones, man. We know how he gets down, bro. He's a BPA guy, best player available guy. Yeah. So like I said, it don't matter your situation. So the Cowboys defense as a whole, they still have holes that they're gonna fill in and fix. But like I said, signing one of the greatest situational pass rushers of all time, that's a plus, man. And now with the Keenan Allen situation, bro, I feel as if him in that receiver room with him and Pittman and Alex Pierce, and also too, Alex Pierce is out.
Josh Downs, we traded Pittman. We got Alex Pierce and Josh Downs.
Right, Alex Pierce and Josh Downs, right? And now you got Keenan Allen, who's a sure-hand receiver, right? Mm-hmm. I believe he had 1,000 yards last year, right? Did he have 1,000?
He might have just had under, but if not, he might have. Let me see if he
it was close to 1,000, right? I believe, right? I know he had a decent season last year. But like I said, another veteran in the room, You know what I'm saying? You know, another guy where people can learn from. And also, too, like, yo, listen, he's one of the best possession receivers that to me, he's one of the most underrated possession receivers we've had in our time. So for a guy like that to come to Indy, where Indy's in win now mode, and like I said, they're a sleeper contender in the AFC, you know, can't go wrong with that signing as well, too. And for the amount that they signed up for, too, with the incentives, that's a good move by the Colts, man. Yo, Drew, your team is moving very, very militant, bro. I like that.
I mean,
for David Jones, bro, good.
We have names in the building, which is something I like. You think of our weapons, you think of Jonathan Taylor, top 3 running back in the league. You got a guy like Alec Pierce, who was number 1 in like yards per catch, and second year tight end Tyler Warren, who can really, really break out and become a top 5 tight end.
Top 5 tight end
this year. And then a guy like Josh Downs, who at 600 last year, I think he can get to that 1,000 yards with a guy like Keenan Allen helping him out, because one, Keenan Allen's a route artist, right? No matter how old he is, he's going to be able to get open. He's a guy like Devontae Adams, a guy like Ocho Cinco, especially with red zone efficiency. And it's just like a match made in heaven with the Colts' red zone efficiency last year and Shane Steichen being able to dial it up, Daniel Jones making great decisions down there, and then having a guy like Keenan Allen who's been reliable on third downs and in the red zone. So to me, real quick, we're going to pause the show for this crazy comment here. Do we get an update on Tyler Warren's groin? You could have threw injury in there. We got to pause the show. We got to get a whistle so we can – yeah, come on, bro. Come on, Yusuf. I know you better than that.
That was crazy.
No update on the groin injury that happened in training camp today. We'll get more information on the lower extremity injury, hopefully within the next week or so. Shane Steichen said he missed the rest of practice, which you never want to see. But back to Keenan Allen, and just similar to Von Miller and what he brings to the Cowboys is a veteran leadership. It's somebody who in that receiver room where, you know, you had wide receiver 3 was going to be either Ashton Doolin or Westbrook Akine, who serviceable guys, and shout out to the work they're putting in. I love Ashton Doolin as a Colts fan. Like real Colts fans love Ashton Doolin, special teams legend. But as your wide receiver 3, you're not so confident that he can do that all season because we just never seen it. But you bring in a guy like Keenan Allen, and now your wide receiver room just expands. And I think he's a guy that can also keep things level, keep composure, keep everybody confident. And, guy who's been there, done that. And so I do think it's a great fit. He's been in Shane Steichen's offense before, obviously as a Charger, when Shane was calling plays in in Los Angeles, I should say, with the Chargers. So this, to me, much like the Von Miller thing, it's like this can only be a positive. I don't see Von Miller joining a deep Cowboys defensive line who had success toward the end of last year, and they only seem to be building on that. I don't see where the negative comes in. Obviously, health is the concern for both sides at their age, but Keenan Allen's been Mr. Consistent, at least, sure hands and able to get open, especially in a short yardage situation. So it's just another threat to have on the field in a third and short, in a red zone where you already got guys like Warren, Downs, and Taylor who can really exploit defenses in those situations. So I'm excited as a Colts fan for our AFC, possibilities. Like we have an opportunity to get to that playoff this year and end the drought. We haven't been since old Phillip Rivers, led us there in 2020, and we lost in Buffalo. So, I'm definitely excited for that. But I guess moving along, I want to bring this to speaking of the playoffs and the droughts and teams that haven't made it and had made it. Let's talk about teams that made the playoffs last year, but you think they're going to miss the playoffs this year.
All right.
Teams that made the playoffs last year that will miss this year. I'll start it off. I got 2 teams. You could throw one at me. You could throw 2 at me. I think the San Francisco 49ers on the NFC side of things will miss the playoffs in 2026. The electricity plant, it already got guys like Mike Evans, hobbling around practice. Christian McCaffrey, whether he's holding out with this injury excuse or he's actually hurt. Ricky Pearsall is going to miss the season, right? It's just and you don't have Brandon Ayuk for, whether you like him or not, he was a contributing factor in that offense. And so to me, the injury bug that lives in San Francisco, Santa Clara, it's one of those things that just worry me in terms of believing that they're going to be able to go back to the playoffs. Obviously, you look at this team, George Kittle is banged up as well. You look at this team at full strength, yeah, you imagine how do they not get to the playoffs. But you factor in the fact that they're in a very good division. You factor in the fact that they have a lot of injuries to their premier players. They have if you consider Mike Evans' injury, a depleted wide receiver room, right? You go and get a Mike Evans to, replace guys, and he's not there anymore. He's not there right now. And whether you guys think, okay, Mike Evans will be there in the regular season, he's not in Tampa Bay, right? This is a guy who had 1,000 yards for 1,000 seasons straight. He's in a new offense, in a new system with a new quarterback. There's new timing. There's new rhythm. There's running back that is considered a top 5 running back in the league who's going to get a lot of carries and a lot of work. It's not the same. So not being there for install and these big training camp practices, it matters.
Big deal. It does matter.
Yeah.
It does matter.
So I'm going to throw them out there. And then the one that I'm not exactly sure, I'm going to agree. Yusuf said the Panthers. I think it's tricky with them because they can still win their division. But this is a team that I think will miss the playoffs this year. The Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers. And it's kind of hard to say because, Coach Harbaugh is building something special there. And I didn't know that. This must be new. They just lost their starting center for the year. We saw them lose both tackles last year, Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. They got them back. So thankfully, Herbert will have some protection on his blind side and his front side. Pause. But to me, the Chargers didn't necessarily get so much better. Now, getting the tackles back makes them what they were originally, but I don't know that they did so much to get better. And so for me, I just don't know. I just don't believe it this year with a guy like Patrick Mahomes coming back from injury, right, and trying to come back from the dead and bring Kansas City back to what they were in that division and in the AFC in general. You're going to compete with a lot. So
you still got Denver in that conference too. Listen, Denver
who's
made
the best team in the division. No, yeah, they're the best team in the division.
And they got better too. They got Waddle, right? So and you got Waddle, you got Sutton, you got what I'm saying. I think Harvey's gonna take that leap too.
Troy Franklin's a really good third piece.
He's a good third option too, right? And also too, they got a great defense. They get Tommy takeaways and everything like that too. So
yeah.
The AFC West got better, man. The AFC West got better. But I do agree with the Chargers. Like I said, I think even their pass catchers too. I don't think they made any improvements on that side of the ball too. I do. Mm-hmm. I want to see Herbert. I want to see Herbert with a bona fide number one. He hasn't had that for real. I mean, he's had Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen as of late has been dealing with injury, and
he's had an older Keenan Allen,
right? An older Keenan Allen, right? So right, exactly. He's had an older Keenan Allen. There we go. Right now, I don't know about the Chargers. I think they're gonna make the playoffs though. Like I said, I can see them, as a wild card sneaker. Now you'll like my answer though, bro. But you'll like my answer. I think the Jaguars don't.
I thought you were gonna say the Texans, but. I'll take an.
Actually, wait, no. Actually, you know what?
Not making a decision, bro.
I think I do the tech. I will say the Jaguars, just because, like I said, the Texans' defense to me, I think is between those two teams in the division.
That as well.
But I just think that the Texans' defense, man, they're all time good. To where I don't think C.J. Stroud would really have to do much this season, for him to lead his team, but. I do think with the Jaguars, I think the loss of NTN, you know what I'm saying, is going to be a bigger deal.
A-Chan, we got to say A-Chan. We got
A-Chan, my fault, A-Chan, right? Right. I do think, the loss of A-Chan, you know what I'm saying, is going to be bigger than what people think it is for the Jaguars, just
Yeah.
because he doesn't have that, that safety valve of a running back to, what I'm saying, where he can get the dink and dunk plays, you know what I'm saying, where he was successful last year. But like I said, he's going to have a full season with Kobe Myers. Travis Hunter's going to be healthy. We're going to see him at full-time corner, which I think he should have been a corner from jump. I don't think the receiver thing was going to work out
finally.
Anyway. Yeah. Right? So that's good for him playing corner. Now, and also too, like I said, it's Tuitt now, right? So like I said, the thing is now with Tuitt, we have to see if Tuitt takes that lead too, because you got Tuitt and LaQuint Allen. So if those two guys, the running back situation in Jacksonville is interesting. Like I said, those two guys are competing for that RB1 spot. If I think Tuitt's going to take the lead for that spot, but like I said, the key is that running back position, and I don't think that they have enough, reliability in the run game to where it can lead them to where you got to win those games in late November, early December, where you got to run that football. And you know what I'm saying? I don't think they got the talent to sustain that. Whereas if the Texans got better, they got David Montgomery. I do think they're gonna make the playoffs. But go ahead, Julie. Go ahead.
Houston did lose. Jalen Higgins and Tank Dell coming back from his injury.
Right, and that's a big loss. And that's a big loss. And that's a big loss.
They were supposed to have a trio, and I think Higgins was going to take that step to where we could see, like, all right, when is he going to become wide receiver one? And he's got a setback now where he didn't even get to play week 1 of the season, and he's already going to miss the whole thing. So it's just putting more workload on guys like Collins and a guy like Tank Dell, who's coming back from a very scary injury. They're saying he looks great in training camp, but it's a lot. And so can CJ Stroud, who's on a contract year, trying to make $45 to $50 million per, can he take that step up and amidst everything, take them back to the playoffs and deliver like you're saying, with the help of that defense?
Now with the NFC, it's going to be interesting, man. I don't think Detroit missed the playoffs last year. So I do think they'll get in, but I think the Eagles missed the playoffs this year, bro. So I think the Eagles missed the playoffs this year. And I say
the Eagles missed the playoffs.
Yeah, I think so this year. I just think that Dallas got better. And I think it's gonna be one team that comes out the East this year. I believe that the NFC North got so much better. To where I think we may have three. To where I think we possibly may have 3 teams, out of that division make the playoffs in the NFC. I do think Detroit may get in this year again. As a redemption season with Gibbs as the bell cow running back. But like I said, with the Eagles, man, we don't know. With that we don't know about that wide receiver situation, and like I said, with the new offense, right? We don't know how that's going to look. And have we seen Jalen Hurts make enough intermediate throws to where you can say, hey, he's suitable fit for this West Coast offense, and he's fit, to pretty much lead this team in a different way. And what I mean by that is being the bell cow of the offense. Whereas if he's leading, he's the main vocal point of the offense, and it's not Saquon Barkley or AJ Brown. Now, the loss of AJ Brown, I think, is going to be a lot for them too, just because you don't have that dominant outside threat to where you have a guy that's going to win those one-on-one matchups against these CB1s, these high-value CB1s. Now, and also too, every team in the NFC East got better. They improved on the defensive side of the ball, right? The Giants got Harbaugh, right? You got Burns, and you got all those rookies. You got Hood, and you got Trayman Edmonds, and the Redskins. I mean, I'm sorry, not the Redskins, the Commanders. I'm sorry, they got better on defense. Oops, sorry about that. Ooh. They might go back to that name too. Who knows, right?
You're just a real football guy, man. That's all.
I'm a real football guy, bro. It is what it is, bro. Right? But I think, right, even with the Commanders, they got better on defense with Sonny Styles, and with those guys, and Sandstro coming back this season, and we know what the Cowboys do. They're still filling up their defense. You know, they're still going to sign a veteran cornerback from what I've heard. Within the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be every team has improved, man. Every single team has improved in the NFC East. And have the Eagles really improved? I mean, they just re-signed Jalen Carter, who's to me is the best defensive tackle in football. But like I said, they have another new offensive coordinator, right? And coming off a previously offense where it was pretty stagnant, and you lose, arguably to me, I think a top 5 wide receiver in this game, right? I don't know if the Eagles pull it out, man. I think it's going to be tough, and they also have a tough 6 games coming out too. So it's going to be interesting to see that those first 6 weeks of the Eagles and like how they look.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think the Eagles will make the playoffs again, but it's gonna be tough because I do think as a team that didn't make the playoffs last year, the Cowboys have a very, very solid argument and push to get in there this year in the NFC. My AFC team for teams that didn't make it last year but will this year will be Kansas City, as stated.
You think Kansas City? Wow. I'd say for me, the AFC. I think the Colts make the playoffs, man. If the Colts really get that, Colts sneak in and get that wild card spot. I think so.
I'm at a point where I got to see it to believe it, brother. I appreciate the optimism. I mean, we couldn't have had a better start to last year, and then
it's not your fault. Injuries happen.
A more worse finish, bro. A more worse finish. So at the end of the day, injuries do happen, but it's a part of the game, and you got to win amidst all problems that arise. So we still haven't done that since 2020. Again, I'll be a believer when I see it. Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes is on the revenge. We're going to get into Patrick Mahomes being ranked at number 18, which I think is absolutely crazy in just a moment. But before we do that, let's talk about these questions we got, man. We got 4 questions, and we don't want to spend too much time on it. We'll wrap up here in the next 10 minutes, y'all. I don't want to hold y'all all night. But biggest surprise in the preseason so far. I'm not going to lie. For me personally, I think the preseason kind of just starting now is I don't have too much of a surprise for what I've seen so far. But what I can say is I think the Dolphins drafted a stud at wide receiver in the 3rd round out of Texas Tech. Douglas is they said he's making plays at training camp. We saw what he did on the field on, I think that was Friday night, Friday night. I mean, that was surprising to me to see how much of a stud they found later in the draft, not super late, but it was a day 2 find. So, yeah.
Me personally, man, boy, Jeremiah Love, oh my God, bro. Woo! He got it. Listen, man, I really think, man, in 2 years, he is going to be the best running back in football, bro. Like, wow. To me, he has, like, I don't know, like, y'all might laugh at me, bro. Like, y'all might laugh at me, bro. Like, people said he kind of runs like he has that Alvin Kamara running style to him, right? That was coming out of the draft, right? He runs like, to me, I didn't see that. And you're gonna laugh at me, bro, but kind of runs like AP.
No, I see what you're saying. It's kind of like I think it's distinct enough to not need to explain.
Right. Like, I don't think he's like he's physical. Like, I was surprised.
I will say.
He's a strong runner than people give him credit for. And it's like, we didn't see that. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't see that much in college for real at Notre Dame, because Notre Dame does that zone blocking scheme a lot. But his ability to run in between the tackles really impressed me a lot, man. Especially in the NFL too, where that's going to be his bread and butter, where you have to run in between the tackles.
Yeah.
In order for you to gain those, in order to get those 4 yards, those 4 yards to carry. And and from a fantasy football perspective too, because I love the fantasy football stuff, man. He's a top 10 pick. But I mean, he has the ankle injury that's bothering him, the high ankle sprain. Yeah. So that's going to be annoying to deal with for the season, right? And how he's gonna, how he gets into that groove. And same with GNT last year. He had that high ankle sprain in preseason, and he didn't really get into that groove until like maybe I'd say like week 4, week 5, right?
Yeah.
So we may see that with Jeremiah Love, you know what I'm saying, in Arizona. So I really but yo, that preseason game really showed me, hey man, when healthy, bro, like to me, I think he is going to be in 2 years. I think he's going to be the best running back in football.
The only pushback I'll have for you there is basically like hashtag pump the brakes just a bit, just in the sense of that we saw what Genty was in college. We saw what he can be in the NFL and his explosiveness, but we also saw what it looks like when you're behind a bad offensive line. Like the Arizona Cardinals don't have a good offensive line, and I know that we saw preseason game. It was the 2s versus 2s, and so I'm not going to give too much credit. I'm not saying I'm not buying into what you're saying. I'm buying in. I think we saw what Jeremiah Love was at Notre Dame for years, and we saw what he can do and what he looks like here in the NFL so far. I'm going to give him credit, but I do want to pump the brakes just a bit as far as him being the best running back in the next 2-3 years. Like, we're competing with guys like Bijan Robinson. We're competing with guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who's been doing this since 2020 and just got another new contract because of how much he can contain or I guess contribute, sustain and contribute with the workload that he's had and been responsible for. So all I'm saying there, but I do like the observation and the comparison. Shout out to Yusuf and you for having that comparison. Reminds him of AP as well, but like he said, real football guy type shit. Real quick, Yusuf said, since no one I'm competing with is in here, I'm fading Love in fantasy this year. Okay. He said he likes Michael Wilson and Trey McBride better. And I mean, it's a rookie. Right. Like, you got to go where, Trey McBride is a top 3 tight end in the league.
I think he's the best tight end in football right now.
Yeah. Like, arguably, right? You want to go this way, that way. Trey McBride is a 99 Club member in Madden for a reason. And so I'm not mad at you. And then Michael Wilson.
He won. And Michael Wilson, he was a fantasy money winner. He
reminds me of Parker Washington. You didn't mention him when you was talking about the Jags, but Washington is having a super great training camp, and he had a really good end of last year, because I know Jacoby Myers coming from Vegas to Jacksonville was like stole the show and had an amazing year. But Parker Washington did a great job, and I do like Michael Wilson as wide receiver 1 over the big name Marvin Harrison Jr., which I think Marvin Harrison Jr. still can grow into that, and he'll figure it out if he finds that confidence.
Gotta stay healthy. Gotta stay healthy.
Ohio State, but yeah, there's that. Yo, question number 2, and I want to hear your answer. I want to hear Yusuf's answer. If anybody else is in the chat wants to chime in here, what are your expectations for Kyler Murray?
I mean, I don't know. The Vikings are going to be an interesting team, man. Like I said, they really didn't deal with they dealt with a lot of injuries last season as well. But like I said, we seen this before with Kyler Murray, man. We've seen the good Kyler Murray, we've seen the bad Kyler Murray. So, like I said, it's gonna be a week by week process, because you got JJ sitting. Even though I think the whole Sam Darnold thing is that's just an all time fumble. If we got to keep it real, that's an all time miss for the Vikings and Daniel Jones too. Right, both those quarterbacks, both those quarterbacks, but. Like I said, you have 2 explosive wide receivers in Addison. You know what I'm saying? Guy. You know what I'm saying? Listen, DWI Demon, bro. Like I said, we need receivers like that every now and again, bro. And we got Justin Jefferson, bro. And you got the best. To me, like I said, he's one of the best receivers of all time. So you have those 2 guys on the outside. So it really shouldn't be hard. And the Vikings O line is still very competent. But so you just need a quarterback that's just not going to turn the ball over at key moments and key situations, and they should be all right. They should be okay.
Yeah, I agree. And so my thing is, I like Yusuf's point. I like your points that you made. This is a big year for Kyler Murray, and I hope he doesn't play. I hope he doesn't let it get to his head, in the sense that to your point, we saw how they fumbled Sam Darnold, how they fumbled Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold went off to go get new contracts and restart or revamp, we can say, their careers. If he plays good, he's going to get a bag. Like, they're not going to fumble 3 straight quarterbacks and let him walk out the building and let him go shine maybe somewhere else as if this is just tryout city. Minnesota has a great head coach in Kevin O'Connell who, for whatever reason, sees what he sees in Kyler Murray and saw that year he had in Arizona with, you know, a playoff season. And he said, you know what? Let's make this right. Get me this guy, and I'll make the best of it. But I'm also going to show him that he doesn't need to do much. We're not going to ask him to do much. We're going to ask him to hand the ball off. We're going to ask him to give his target, get the ball to his big targets like Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson. And if Jordan Addison can play some good football and stay, you know, out of trouble off the field, he'll get the ball too. It's not a difficult concept. It's actually a simple concept and scheme that they run in Minnesota. You just got to be able to deliver the ball and make the right decisions. So, Yusuf says, Jettis, Addison Hawkinson, yeah, good play calling, exactly. No reason for you to not go off in a contract year. You were forced to take a minimum. And we're kind of all beating the same drum here in different language. But, yeah, Kyler Murray, don't do too much. You don't have to. You don't have to be that scrambler that you were at Oklahoma. You don't have to be that survive for your life that you were in Arizona because they didn't protect you as much as you should have. They have a good offensive line in Minnesota. They have a great defense in Minnesota. And I think all you have to do is learn the scheme, get the ball out in time, find your guys. And I'm not saying Minnesota is going to go and win 13 games this year, but they sure can and should win 10. And maybe 11, you know what I'm saying? If you take care of business in your division, I don't see why you can't win 11 games. So we're looking at a team who can really be a playoff team. And I think it's all predicated on what version of Kyler Murray we get this year. And to be named quarterback 1 early before preseason week 1, I think was a big thing. This wasn't a dragged out quarterback competition where coach acted like he didn't know who he wanted to go with. He made his mind up. The guys who drafted J.J. McCarthy are not involved in the building anymore. It's coach's decision right now, and let him rock out with a guy who's a veteran and has made big plays in his career and looks forward to making big plays there. All right. Our third out of fourth question. We're almost done here. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. Who finally gets over the hump? Rio, I'm gonna jump in here. And out of these 3, I already mentioned Justin Herbert might miss the playoffs, in my opinion, which he might not, but I think he can miss the playoffs, in my opinion. Lamar Jackson, you know, LJ, Broward County, Florida. Shout out to you. Shout out to South Florida. I love you. My favorite player in the league. So don't take this disrespectfully. But I do think that Josh Allen and the Bills are best equipped for Josh Allen finally to get over that hump. And yes, over the hump, like winning the Super Bowl. Not saying it's going to happen for either 3 of these teams. I don't think either 3 of these teams win the Super Bowl this year. But if I did put my money on one of these teams, I would be most confident with Josh Allen and the Bills. And I'm saying that after a 4 or 5 turnover game playoff loss to Denver. It was a bad decision, right? But DJ Moore comes in. He's got his wide receiver 1. He's got James Cook, one of the better running backs in the league, and a nice defense on the other side. If he can take care of the ball, he also has a new coach. Am I correct? Is that Joe Brady over there calling?
Yeah, he does. He got Joe. Right now. Yeah, I believe Joe Brady's over there.
And I think Joe Brady, who has been in the building. So, like Lamar Jackson, to the disadvantage here is that he's got a whole new coach, right? Jesse Minter is brand new, right? And so, and where is Minter coming from again? Let me see. Chargers, yeah. He was out there in San Diego, defensive coordinator, now turned head coach, trying to revive what Todd Monken was able to do in Baltimore with Lamar. I think Joe Brady has been the OC in Buffalo for so long, and this mastermind of play calling and offensive scheme, he's been working with Josh Allen. The relationship's already there. I think it's finally just his turn to make everything his decision, and he's going to be able to really showcase that this year. So just for me, from an advantage standpoint and a personnel standpoint, I got to go with Josh Allen having the resources to get over the hump this year over a guy like Lamar Jackson and a guy like Justin Herbert. I mean, Justin Herbert hasn't even won a playoff game, so I'm not going to put him in a Super Bowl conversation. Yeah. But I will put Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in a Super Bowl contending conversation, absolutely. However, I go Josh Allen. Where you go?
I mean, I would say I agree with you, man.
Did I make such a good argument that all you could say is yeah?
Yeah. I'd say Josh Allen, man. Josh Allen, to me, like I said, this year, like just his ability to elevate that wide receiver room. Like I said, you got Cookies, and then you got Shakir, right? So you got Shakir, and you got those tight ends over there. So the fact that he's able to elevate that passing attack each year, I think, is something. But and I do think, you know, Buffalo gets over the hump this year. Like, I mean, to me, the AFC East, it's a two-team race. You know, you got them in New England. And like I said, the AFC, to me, like, it's going to be a tricky season, man. We don't know about the Chiefs. You know what I mean? We don't know about the Chiefs. We don't know about Mahomes' health for real. Even if he plays week 1, right? How that's going to look. And like, let's say, for example, like if, you know, he doesn't have like he doesn't have that, you know, if he's not healthy, then they're not going to play him. Me personally, if I'm the Chiefs, I wouldn't play Mahomes this season. I'd tank for Jeremiah Smith, but that's just me. But like I said, the addition of DJ Moore, right, with the Bills, we haven't seen Josh Allen with this type of wide receiver talent since, you know, he who shall not be named. We'll call him the Booty Bandit on the show. Since the Booty Bandit, since he had the Booty Bandit at wide receiver. So, like I said, their ability to get a true bona fide wide receiver one, where we know where if he's had competent play, DJ Moore, right? We've seen what he's able to do with a competent quarterback, right? So, like I said, I think the Bills, you know, I think the Bills can get over the hump. Now, do I think they're better than Denver? Or do I think they're better
than this was the question, was Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen,
I'd say Buffalo. I'd say Josh Allen.
Focusing on these 3 quarterbacks, who would finally get over the hump if we had to pick one? That's the question.
Got Josh Allen, man.
That's it. I love to hear it. I agree, and I hope it's Lamar Jackson, but it realistically, I'm leaning toward Josh and the Bills. Hey, last question from the listeners' questions. By the way, shout out to y'all listeners, man, sending in questions every time we get up here. Phenomenal questions, giving us 10 to 15 minutes of conversation for the show's contribution. But this is a good one here. I want to hear with as little explanation as you have to give, because we're not going to talk about 5 different rooms in the next 5 minutes. But top 5 wide receiver rooms, in your opinion. This is a great question. I think it's a great conversation because I don't know that there's a wrong answer once you get to like 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Like 3, 4, 5, you know? So you want to start this off? You want me to start? Let me know.
Nah, you go ahead. Go ahead, Julian. Go ahead, man. I want to hear what you got.
Okay. So it's tough. I'm not going to lie. This is tough. Number one, and this might, Yusuf, you got to put your top 5 all together. I'm not sharing 5 different comments like this as much as I appreciate it, but put them all together so I can share the comments. We want to see it. I go Bengals, number 1. I think Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in the league, so you got to give the edge to the number 1 receiver in the league. And the fall off to number 1 to T. Higgins, in my opinion, isn't so far. And that duo, we've seen what they can do with an elite quarterback like Joe Burrow when healthy. It's a scary scene, right? So I'm just going to go and say it. I got Bengals at number 1. At number 2, this one's tough, bro. Like I said, there might not be any wrong answer per se, but number 2, I'm going to go with the Cowboys, man. I think having two number one receivers, two true number one receivers at CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, who's on a contract year. They're going to play out of their minds. Dak Prescott's arguably going to have an MVP opportunity here. Opportunity with those two receivers that are hungry. Number 3, I'm going to give the edge to the Seahawks number 3, I'm going Seattle. Super Bowl champion Jackson Smith-Njigba, obviously, if not the second best, third best wide receiver in the league, second, third, you want to put him wherever, I'm not too mad. But with him, with Cooper Kupp and Rashid Shaheed, I think that trio right there can do numbers on any defense in the league you throw at them. Number 4, I'm going to go with the Rams. I can't ignore any more Puka Nacua. What Puka Nacua does by himself, what he does by himself is self-explanatory. Devontae Adams as a complementary piece in that wide receiver room, and Matthew Stafford playing at an MVP level is such a threat. And then number 5, I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions. I think with Amon-Ra St. Brown having a career that he's having the last few seasons, Jameson Williams, J-Mo, he's going to have a big breakout season. And I think he's going to play much better than expectations are even set for him in Detroit, especially with how hungry they are to have a bounce-back year. And then Isaac Tesla, I think he's like an amazing complementary piece for the two of those guys. So that receiver room
you could throw Laporta there too.
The big threat, right? Like he's basically a receiver. I didn't want to say it, but you got Sam Laporta coming back, and he's a receiving threat. So I'm gonna go with the Lions, and then for shits and giggles, number 6, honorable mention. Tell me if you like this. Over the Vikings, because Jordan Addison to me hasn't been as consistent of a player as I think he or thought he would be coming into the league.
Well, hey, that legal troubles. That's all legal trouble.
Figure it out, brother.
Figure it out.
The Broncos, man, with Jalen Waddle going over there, having a 1,000-yard season, Cortland Sutton having a 1,000-yard season for the last 2 years, and then having a guy like Troy Franklin who had, I think, over 700 yards with Bo Nix. It seems like a recipe for a nice dish. And so I'll put them at 6, honorable mention, Broncos. But, yeah, if I got to go 1 through 5, we're going Bengals, Cowboys, Seahawks, Rams, Detroit Lions, honorable mention at number 6. Denver Broncos. Real quick, if you want to tap into Yusuf's, he's got Bengals, Cowboys, Rams, Lions, Vikings. That's interesting.
It's not bad.
Interesting. So he took out. He doesn't have the Seahawks in there, and he's got the Rams over them, and he's got the Vikings in for Seattle. Finish it off. Pause.
Number 5, I have the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Like I said, you got JSN, you got Coop, you got Shaheed, you got AJ Barner. So that's a good pair of pass catchers right there as well. 4, got the Lions, right? For the reasons like you said, you got Amon-Ra, you got J-Mo, you got Laporta, right? I also will throw Gibbs in there as well too. Gibbs gets a lot of love in the slot as well. So he's a complimentary guy as well. 3, I got Dallas. Got the Cowboys. Like you said, you got CeeDee Lamb. You feel me? You got Pickens, who to me is 1A, 1B. There's no wide receiver 1 or 2 in that room. It's 1A, 1B. 2, I got the Rams, man. I got the Rams. Like I said, Puka Nacua, bro. I ain't gonna lie, he's the best receiver in the league right now. I think, in my opinion, just in terms of his ability to just do everything, block, catch up the middle. Wow. He can do it all. To me, like he. If you look at the tape, to me, I think he's the best total wide receiver in the game. You know what I mean? And also too, you got Devontae Adams. You know what I mean? Self-explanatory. Route artist, future Hall of Famer.
So word, Astro.
And number 1, obviously, we have the Cincinnati Bengals with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Like I said, T. Higgins, to me, he's the best complimentary wide receiver. I think, to me, he's one of the more underrated. He's one of the more best complimentary receivers of all time now at this rate.
Yeah.
Especially consistent, consistent, 1,000-yard, 1,200 yard seasons. You know what I'm saying? We've seen what he's done when Jamar Chase has been out too. His numbers have elevated. Yep. So yeah, man. Yep. To me, those two are the best, bro. Those two are the
best.
That's
the thing too about being, to T. Higgins' credit, being a number 2 doesn't.
Right.
It only means like you're gonna get more opportunity, and if you take advantage of it, like a Smitty, like a Devontae Smith, it just speaks to who you are as a player. And like you said, when Jamar Chase goes out, T. Higgins' numbers go up. But when Jamar Chase is in, T. Higgins' numbers are still a great, consistent. You know what I'm saying? So it's consistent all across the board. I like this top 5 right here as well. Felony 520. Shout out to you watching on Twitch. We live on Twitch. We live on X as well. So if y'all want to tap in on YouTube,
sub chat,
Twitch, X, we got it all on the stream. He's got Jamar Chase and the Bengals at number 1. He's got Jackson Smith and the Seahawks at 2. Puka Nacua and the Rams at 3. Justin Jefferson and the Vikings at 4. And Amon-Ra St. Brown and the Lions at 5. And it's hard to argue that, right? Like, this league is filled with nasty receivers. And so we're blessed to be able to say we're watching all of that this season. We're gonna hope and pray that they all stay healthy and can have great seasons, because man, it's such an exciting thing to watch. Astro in the chat said the Rams gonna be nasty for sure. He said he wasn't gonna try that with Njigba. I'm not even gonna go with these jokes, Astro, man. Shout out to you, bro. Appreciate you pulling up. Better late than never. Yo, Reed, I appreciate that as well, answering these listeners' questions. Again, if y'all got questions, y'all could send me a tweet. Y'all could email me. Y'all could DM the page. Y'all could drop it in the comments, like put it in the chat, whatever. Get the question to me. Text me if you got my number. But we got to get these questions answered, man, weekly. So that's that for the questions. But I do want to finish off this episode. We hour 20 in. I didn't think we was gonna get an hour 20 in. Real quick, I just want to go over the disrespect that I see when they say top 100 players in the NFL. They got Patrick Mahomes, not top 10, not number 10, not at number 15. I understand he's coming off the ACL. He didn't have a passing touchdown over 20 yards last season for like mad weeks. I understand all of that shit. But to put Patrick Mahomes, I'm reading the paper, at 18? At 18?
Yeah, but listen, yeah.
Like, first of all, Yusuf, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
players voting, coaches voting, owners voting.
Yusuf, you stole my argument, bro. You stole my argument, dog.
Listen,
my argument, bro.
Yeah. Astro, by the way, shout out to you, man. He wants to know what I'm thinking about the Colts. Right now, we're going over this Patrick Mahomes disrespect. We did talk about the Colts a little bit, so if you want to go rewatch game, we appreciate that. But Pat at 18, yeah, drugs. That's the only answer. I mean, regardless of the fact that he looked like he had a regressed season, right?
It wasn't his fault. Wasn't his fault.
Whoever's fault it was. We know that if I were to ask you right now, yo, Reed, you get first pick of the NFL draft starting a team right now, who you taking? Unless you want to be funny and troll me, but who you taking?
Who am I taking? Right now? Taking Pat Mahomes.
Yeah. All right. Me too, by the way. And if you're not going to – Patrick Mahomes is not getting to pick 6. He's not getting to pick 4. He's not getting to pick 5. So, for me, I just think that the NFL is moving funny style with these ratings because, again, I already mentioned Lamar Jackson at 68. I mean, this is a 2-time
insane.
MVP.
Yeah, we already.
At this point, they're trolling us, and they want us to do this right here, have this segment on the All Things Sports podcast where I get a little worked up right before the show ends. And, I just don't understand how if you put his recent production, you put his career production in, he's no less than a top 8 player in the league. And he's not 8 or 7. So, like, I just wanted to bring that up. I don't even really have an argument. I don't think there's an argument I got to make for Patrick Mahomes. You could watch the highlights of his career.
I mean, listen, I agree. I really think he he's a top 5 quarterback of all time.
Yes, he's a top 3 quarterback of all time.
Right. So let's just, you know what I'm saying, like put that in perspective. Now, the injury, and like I said, the injury and, you know, him not having Rashee Rice for damn near half the season, that took a blow. Travis Kelce, him being hurt, you know what I'm saying? His numbers digressed. You know, him not having a true running back last season. You know what I mean? Who did he have around him that was like, okay, all right, I got someone here that can make plays for me. You know, he really had no playmakers last season either way. So, like I said, like it's a testament to, like I said, the front office, bro. Like, and you know, the players around Mahomes. Like I said, if you want to make this thing a dynasty, right, and you want to Patriots 2.0 this thing, right, you have to revamp and you have to get players, you know, these late round steals and these at the playmaker spots. Like they did go at Rashee Rice, but like you need someone else, man. Like you need somebody
else. I will
else.
say Kenneth Walker is a great signing.
Oh, right. He's a great right. Like I said, Kenneth Walker for them is an amazing signing
finally, you know what
right?
I mean?
They finally has a true
gets a running back.
Right. Finally has a true bell cow running back. You know what I mean? And that's going to be interesting to see how Mahomes and Walker how they integrate them together. Now, it's the pass catchers now. It's the guys on the outside, right? Yeah. Who is going to step up and be that other guy next to Rashee Rice? We do not know. Like I said, Travis Kelce is only getting older. So, and the fact that he's been able to maintain this sort of success, right? Even with those guys getting older, that's a credit to him more than anything.
Yeah.
So him being ranked 18 is just bullshit. And like I said, it's just another question mark. Yusef said K9 fantasy season. I don't know, man. I don't know. If you're gonna if you draft, like I said, now Yusef, I'm the fantasy guy over here. You got to take Emmett Johnson. If you take Kenneth Walker, got to take Emmett Johnson. I believe Emmett Johnson is going to get a lot of work in the passing game this season for the Chiefs. So I believe, you know, the addition of him, like I said, Emmett Johnson.
Shout out to Emmett Johnson, yo. He's at a great training camp as well.
Right.
And I think he's had a good season.
Right. And also too, he's known as a pass catching running back. So we really haven't seen Mahomes with those two type of weapons at the running back spot. So it may be a different look offense for the Chiefs this season too. So
yeah, so to his point where he's like, you know, he's going to be unleashed now that there's no charge stealing touchdowns. Emmett Johnson is definitely going to get a lot of play. And plus, you know, Kansas City is known for getting the most out of everybody. Like they're going to try to spread the ball wherever. Andy Reid wants the guy that's open to get the ball. He's not going to force feed. Patrick Mahomes is not even going to force feed. Obviously, Kelce would get, if anything, the force feed because of who he is and who he is as a player, I should say, and his talents. But at this stage of his career, he's not what he was 3 years ago, even though he's still at the top of the tight end list. Patrick Mahomes has done a great job his whole career at just throwing the ball to who's open and getting the ball to a guy that you like, wait, who's all right, cool. I mean, yeah, let's do it. It works. So and Emmett Johnson is getting good praise. I'm glad you brought that up because I do think he's going to have a solid rookie year coming out of Wisconsin. What was that?
I believe what school he went to.
Emmett Johnson came out of Nebraska, I believe.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Nebraska. I knew it was in red and white jerseys. But yeah, man, that I just wanted to get my shit off for that Patrick Mahomes because I think, as I mentioned earlier in the show, the Chiefs as a team that didn't make the playoffs last year, obviously because of the regressed season and unhealthy, unfortunate situations, they're gonna make the playoffs. And Patrick Mahomes is listening to everything y'all boys are saying, and every month that voted, you know what I'm saying, for that is get back season for Patrick. So shout out to him. Shout out to you. Shout out to Yusuf. Shout out to the chat, man. If you was in the chat, if you're watching this live right now, tap in, like and subscribe on the YouTube, man. We try and get them subscribers up. Like the video, and yeah, follow us on Twitch. Follow us on X. Follow us on YouTube at Atspod, All Things Sports Podcast. We're not hard to find. We're gonna be back sooner than later. And again, we're gonna bring y'all college football talk because me and Ree actually been talking on the side more than on the podcast about it. But we gotta get on the podcast talking that shit. So appreciate you, Astro, man.
Yeah, also too, for the fantasy heads too, man. A fantasy episode probably will be dropping soon, bro. I got my rankings are almost finished. They're almost finished. So I'm gonna help you guys out, let you know what rookies to look out for in this upcoming fantasy draft, because we all know rookies will win you leagues. All right.
Yes, sir.
So shout out my brother Jew. All right, shout out my brother Jew. All right, yo, thank you for having me on, brother. All right, man. So, yo, shout out the pod, man. Shout out everyone tapped in. Shout out everybody who listened in, man. Hey, week 0 coming up soon. Week 1 coming up soon, man. Football talk. We locked in.
Yeah.